Hello everyone, this is James from OnSaleMask.com. Today I want to share with you what I learned about the different types of masks because I believe that by better protecting ourselves, together we can beat this virus. Now let's start by looking at the different type of mask from the most protective to the least. Starting with respiratory mask. These are known as N95 in US, KN95 in Asia, and FFP2 in Europe. Straight from the CDC, we know that the respiratory mask, they are evaluated, tested, and approved by NIOSH, which stands for National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. Their purpose is to reduce exposure to small particle aerosol. Basically, these are airborne diseases which can spread through the air. And the 95 designation means that these respiratory masks can filter out 95% of the airborne particle. Next, we have the surgical mask, also known as medical mask. Again, according to CDC, surgical masks, they are cleared by the FDA, and their purpose is to reduce exposure to droplets. Now, droplets are basically body fluids that we put out into the air when we sneeze or when we cough. Now, it's important to know that surgical mask does not provide protection against airborne virus, basically virus that can spread through the air. Next, we have the regular face mask. Now, this mask may look the same as the surgical mask, but since they are not approved by any known entity, the protection they offer is not guaranteed. And the quality of these masks can be all over the map. I bought some masks and they turned out to be of very poor quality. Feels like a thin layer of napkin. Next, we have the self-made mask, and very similar to the regular face mask. Since they are not being monitored or approved by any known entity, their effectiveness is not guaranteed. As a matter of fact, I was able to find one study on the effectiveness of homemade masks. The study was done by NIH, which stands for National Institute of Health. It was published in 2013. And let's take a quick look. So this is the study, and I will post the link in the description so you can take a look if you're interested. But basically, the conclusion is that their findings suggest that a homemade mask should only be considered as a last resort to prevent droplet transmission from an infected individual, but it would be better than no protection. Okay, so these are your last resort. Okay, and their study also found that surgical mask was 3 times more effective than the homemade mask. Okay, so there you go. There you have it. These are the different type of masks that we have. Now let's look at coronavirus, COVID-19, specifically in terms of how it can spread. First, we know that COVID-19 can spread through droplets. Again, these are the bodily fluids that we put out when we cough and sneeze. As you can see in slow motion here, and this is why we have the social distance. However, as you can see in the video, that these droplets can travel more than 6 feet, and studies have shown that droplets can travel up to 20 feet. Next, let's look at, can the COVID-19 virus spread through airborne, basically spread through the air? Well, first, this is an ongoing discussion among the experts, and that's because COVID-19 is still a very new virus, and scientists and doctors are still learning about it. Second, the difference between droplets and airborne is that airborne are much smaller and thus can travel much further. If COVID-19 can spread through airborne, it would also mean that surgical masks would be ineffective to protect against it. Now, what we know is that there has been a number of laboratory studies that have shown that COVID-19 can spread through airborne. However, more test time and peer review are needed to confirm. And also, other experts have argued that the classification of droplets in airborne is ancient, and they argue for microdroplets, as you can see in the video. So basically at this point, we cannot rule out the risk that COVID-19 can spread through the air. Putting everything into perspective, what does this all mean? Well, first, just because there is a 6 feet of distance, it does not mean that you are safe from COVID-19. Number two, do not think that if you cover yourself with some type of scarf or a piece of cloth that you are safe and protected from the virus. 3. Since we cannot rule out the risk of COVID-19 spreading through the air, you should consider using a respiratory mask, especially if you're in an area with high number of infected cases and you're going into a poorly ventilated closed door space. And 4, this one is purely my opinion. The way I look at it is that since you're going to protect yourself, you might as well go all the way because the risk is just too high. And this is why we carry KN95 respiratory mask at onsalemask.com. Now, the little plug aside, the reason I did this video is that how you choose to protect yourself is really your choice. But I want to make sure you're making an informed choice. And I hope you have learned something that you can better protect yourself. Thank you. Please be safe.